Hi friends, my name is Kim. Welcome back to Cottage Kim Cooks, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you with me today. Today we are going to make a quick and simple Asian stir fry. It's going to be a pork and cabbage stir fry, and it just has a couple of ingredients and it seems super simple. And I had this big head of cabbage that I wanted to use part of it and thought this would be a good thing to use it on. And before I forget, I want to say hello to my number one fan, a 7-year-old named Dash. He just turned 7 years old last month, and he watches my videos and encourages me by thinking that I'm good. So I just wanted to say thank you, Dash, for watching my videos, and I look forward to seeing you sometime soon. So what I put in the skillet right now is a little bit of sesame oil. And I am going to add I've cut my pork thinly. It was thin pork chops, boneless, and I cut it very thin. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but I got a new set of knives, and I got the Henkels, and I got those because Becky at Acre Homestead said that she has had a set since she and her husband Josh have been married, and they have been married either 10 or 11 years. And so I thought, as much as she cooks, if they can withstand her use of them in the kitchen, then they can definitely handle my use of them as well. So I'm very excited. I'm also very cautionary because I'm afraid of cutting myself. They are the sharpest knives I've ever had in my life. So we're just going to brown this pork a little bit. And I've already cut my cabbage into thin strips about that big. And we're going to cook the pork, and then we're going to add just a few ingredients. I put sesame oil down, but you could put whatever oil it is that you prefer. Sesame oil is my preference. And today, for the first time, I did use my Instant Pot to cook rice, and it did it perfectly. I only cooked 1 cup of rice, and I used 1 cup of water. I cooked it for 4 minutes on high, and then I let it naturally release pressure for 10 minutes, and then I manually released, and there was almost no pressure to release at that point. And so I took the lid off, and it was light and fluffy. And this recipe that I'm using a modification of today only has 6 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams of protein, and 1 gram of fiber. So that's 5 net carbs, and we can afford to have some white rice with that. About 1/3 of a cup is probably what I will have. Now, if white rice is something that spikes your blood sugar, don't eat it. I'm at the point where the spike in my blood sugar is very minimal. So it doesn't, you can tell by my A1C still being at the 4.9 range that it doesn't spike. I'm not having big spikes all the time like I used to have. And I think that's based on everything else that I eat. And so I can eat the rice, but if you are someone who is newly diagnosed as diabetic, or someone that knows that white rice spikes your blood sugar, use brown rice, use quinoa, actually you could do it without any rice at all. I'm just, because I have enough room to be within that 45 grams of carbohydrates that I try to stay under to be diabetic friendly. I can enjoy a little bit of rice with my stir fry. fry. So it says once that you have cooked it, your pork, and this does call for pork belly, and I'm using a pork loin, or boneless pork chops, which come from the loin. But you can use whatever type of pork you prefer. If you prefer pork belly, go for it. It calls for 4 cloves of garlic. I'm using my minced garlic paste. And it does call for fresh ginger. I don't have fresh ginger. It says a small chunk of ginger, so I'm going to use some powdered ginger. It does call for Thai chilies. I, of course, as you know, am not a fan of heat, so I am not going to use any chilies in this recipe. But if you are a fan of Thai chilies or of heat, you could use cayenne, you could use jalapenos, you could use whatever you prefer. I am going to use my, if I can find it, my Korean red peppers, because as you know, those give you the flavor without any of the heat. So I'm going to put some of that on my meat. And it also calls for green onions. If you would like to add that, you're welcome to. And then once you've gotten this, so place the garlic, ginger, scallion white, and Thai peppers, fry for a minute until aromatic, and it is aromatic. Add cabbage to make a quick stir fry. So I'm going to add my cabbage. So once that cabbage is cooked down a little bit, it will still be a little al dente. You can add 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce. If you didn't use sesame oil to make your, to saute your pork, you can go ahead and add a teaspoon of sesame oil to this at this point. We're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. And I am going to grab a fork and give this a taste. That is very good. It does have a tiny bit of a kick, so I'm going to add a little bit more sugar. And I mean it's a tiny bit. So for most of you, you're not going to need to add more sugar. But for me, because I'm such a wimp when it comes to heat, I'm going to add a little bit more sugar. If you wanted that cabbage to cook down a little bit further, that would work. But the flavor is spot on. Very good, and the pork is very tender. So let me give you the nutrition information about this. And like I said, I'm going to eat it with about 1/3 cup of white rice. It has 224 calories. That's without the rice. 6 grams of carbohydrates with 1 gram of fiber, 5 grams of protein, 20 grams of fat, 24 milligrams of cholesterol. And that looks like everything that I normally, it does have 3 grams of sugar. So not bad at all. And I think we have a winner. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, Cottage Kim Cooks. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I try to post videos twice a week, and I'm getting back into that regular schedule of posting videos for you. It's just, I have wanted to tie those videos with my Shop 28 Marketplace in West Milton that I've told you about before, and tie that book of the recipe for that week into what I'm selling at the shop. And because I have the cottage down in Dayton and I have the lake house, I don't have the ability to get there as frequently as I would like. And so I have used that as an excuse not to do as many videos, but I haven't used that as an excuse not to cook. So just so you know, I've been using my old faithful recipes and cooking those and enjoying it. But the rest of this cabbage, I think I'm going to use on a recipe I saw with beans, which seems like an odd combination, but I'm anxious to give that a try. So, friends, I really enjoyed our time together today. I hope that you did as well, and I look forward to cooking with you again soon. Take care.